I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a roll call, please. Curtis.
Roll call, Mark Cinnamon.
Here.
Allison Kidbrooks.
Here.
Denny is absent. Joy Fay.
Here.
David Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Cooker.
Here.
5 present.
Okay. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, if there are no additions, can I have an approval of the agenda? A motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we will move on to, this is citizens addressing the board. The first person we have addressing the board tonight is Kaylin Welch.
No.
No?
Jill Simpson.
Where are we? Oh, we're down here. Okay, Jill Simpson. I'm sorry.
Visual aids, just like my speech teacher taught me. Of course, so I'll let you guys pass it around. Give it each table one.
I need one, so you're going to hand out
It's
to the
just
five.
black and white. I didn't have my color printer up and behaving itself today. Thank you. So, I don't speak in front of people very often, so I have to write it down or I forget everything. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jill Simpson. Last year I was in charge of the Shabana Farmers Market. Last March you were all kind enough to hear me out on a few things I wanted to change about how the market was run. And I'm here tonight to ask you for, continued support. With your permission, I would like to continue to hold the market on Saturday mornings, June through September at Purdy Park. The village taking on the cost of the insurance last year was extremely meaningful, and it turned out that there were a lot of benefits to having the market at the park. The open space was enjoyed by both the vendors and the attendees. Better parking was a big help for several reasons. I wish I had thought to video the salsa drive-through we had going on for several weekends as Carol Donahoe was selling his salsa to trucks with boats behind him as fast as he could make the transactions go. It was amazing. He was in a dither by the time the day was over on several occasions because he was like, I gotta go make more salsa. The shade trees really helped too with that location. The vendors and the shoppers alike were a lot more comfortable because there was shade there. And the less windy conditions were good there too. The people cut down, their products weren't getting toppled by the wind nearly as much. Reduced traffic noise was nice for the shopping. And the porta potties, everyone said, please thank the village for getting those porta potties in. They really appreciated it. Traffic counts, according to the vendors who had been there before, were up. So we had more shoppers at the market last year than we had previously. And I think it was, largely due to just being a pleasant location. People would walk by. The signs that you guys approved the funding for were very helpful, and it was much appreciated. The Facebook page that I was using to, to promote the market turned out to be a big help. I was posting pictures and announcing events every week, and that really helped. I was also posting them on a couple of other villages too, and we did get a little bit of traffic from other villages, sporadic, but a little. We every weekend got some people from the state park at the farmers market, except for the 2 super rainy Saturday mornings we had last summer. Those were a bomb all around, but that's farmers marketing. I created a new color flyer to post around Shabana, and it's in color, but like I said, I couldn't get my color printer up and going today in time. And so, I'm hoping we can, distribute color flyers around the area again, and that the village will help with the printing of those again. The signs I created last year that you guys funded are still in great condition. I put them out on Thursday or Friday, David did it a few times for me too. We pick them up on Saturday or Sunday, so they weren't getting beaten up in the weather all week long. And that seemed to help, so they're still in great condition. They'll be good at least for another year or two. And I'm about to start work on updating the application process and recruiting participants for the market. But before I do that, I am requesting from the village board the following 3 things. That the village approves permission to hold the Shabana Farmers Market at Purdy Park again this year. The village covers the cost of the insurance again this year, which I understand was, well, I can't remember, Jen, maybe you remember how much it was?
$185.
It was
I
under
think.
$200, and
Yeah,
that was
and I am
for,
gonna ask our new insurance provider if it's
Okay.
covered under them, but I think I have to do it through the same thing, cause it's cottage food.
okay, yeah, but it was like, you know, dozens of events for less than $200, which I thought was pretty good. And, you know, I'm asking that the village approves the printing of the flyers, up to about 200 colored flyers. More than that, you know, we just won't need that many. But that's it, and I wanted you guys to know that I really appreciated your support last year, and it went pretty well.
Dave, I would ask that when we get to public affairs, you reiterate what you've requested, and then we can make a motion. Okay. Next speaker, Norma Ayala.
Yes.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Norma Ayala. I'm the owner of the 103 West Comanche Avenue. I bought that property on the middle of the year 2022. Unfortunately, in November that year, I have some health issues and I really can't do and proceed to renovate the place. I have some fines and I would like to see if the village can waive those fines. My proposal is to fix the property. Right now, with my health problem, I was out of the work since March last year to September, so I was pretty much at home. So really not having too much income to pay fees and things like that. And fixing the property now, it's kind of hard for me. So I would like to consider probably selling, but another option is give me a time to fix the property and try to renovate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Ryan Maloney.
Evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you, Allison, for inviting me to speak, or my wife and I to speak. We're really excited to be able to talk. And we're just basically talking about the chicken ordinance and the removal of chickens inside the village township. And our proposal, or what we'd like the board to consider, is to consider the problem and the issue further. We've talked with Allison briefly over email, and then we were able to meet with the village president and clerk last Saturday to talk a little bit more about it. And part of it is we just don't fully understand it, so we don't know if we can fully speak on it. But we were invited to share our concerns about why we were interested in having chickens, and actually to just ask some questions in terms of why the conclusion was reached about the chickens. We were told, and we could misunderstand, so we feel a little confused, because we were told that not one resident has successfully gone through the permit process in 5 years, but after we asked other people, there was an example of a public member on Facebook page that said that they had completed the process, so that's a misunderstanding on some level. I'm not sure what level. And then someone else mentioned how a village board member also has a flock as well, so I wasn't sure. Again, I'm not making any accusations or anything like that, I'm just feeling confused about that. And then part of that, about considering the problem and the issue further, is try to identify the root cause so you can develop an effective solution. So part of the questions that I was just curious about, and I know I asked you, Allison, about this, but given the time frame, I don't expect like an immediate thorough response, but just looking at why haven't there been any successfully completed applications? And is there a lack of awareness? Is there a lack of interest in people doing chickens? Is the permit application confusing or expensive or unreasonably time intensive or restrictive based on what another village member thought, I'd wonder about that, and my own questions to be enough, because they couldn't exactly tell me how much straight cost of doing a permit application would be. That makes me wonder, like, how clear is it to people that are using this? And then for the people that have gone against the ordinance, that broken the ordinances, my questions would be, why did they break the ordinance? Did they not understand what was required? Could they not afford a permit? Could they not go through the permit process? Were there extenuating circumstances? I know we get really cold winters here in Illinois, thankfully not right now, but we have already this season, and so were there situations that required them to do what's in the best interest of chickens, even though they may not be in the best interest of the ordinance? Did they just not care about following ordinances and they thought they could do whatever they want? Were they considering having extra hens? Because if you only have 4, so that will reasonably feed 2 to 3 people regularly, depending on how many chickens they have. So maybe they were looking at expanding the amount. Those are questions where I didn't know the answers, but there were things I was curious about to figure out what can we develop as an effective solution to this issue. I know one concern was noise, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but one of the ones was the cost and effectiveness of the ordinance. And my question would be, is it really effective to make something illegal for everybody based on the actions of a few people? And so you're penalizing a larger group of people rather than just the transgressing individual, so you're restricting freedoms, arguably, of the law-abiding people, or people that could potentially go about it the legal way, without necessarily stopping those who break the ordinance, because if you just pass a new ordinance for someone that breaks the old ordinance, what's to say that they would actually follow the new ordinance? So in that case, it is hurting those people who do nothing wrong or are respectful of the ordinances without necessarily confronting those who are transgressing. And then again, to ban it outright seems a lot to do. I think it would be prudent to examine the limits and the restrictions that are placed on chickens and chicken ownership instead of just banning the use altogether. I use the analogy of if someone's caught speeding and they break the speed limit, we don't take away everyone's right to drive a car. We just reinforce the ordinance of the law against that individual rather than necessarily the group, and then we could revisit the restrictions and the impact of certain things. And then since Allison mentioned talking about some of the benefits or the concerns, I wanted to share some of the reasons why we're interested in having chickens as well. There's 4 main ones. One is that having backyard chickens is arguably better for the chicken and the local ecosystem. So chickens are more humanely raised when they're raised within a backyard environment as opposed to a corporate, large-scale commercial environment. Their environments tend to be more spacious and more clean. The chickens are more regularly attended to. They don't make an unreasonable amount of noise. According to the research that I read, hens make 60 to 70 decibels of volume at max. So that's when they're like laying eggs. So it's not a constant 60 to 70 decibels, which is about the sound of a human conversation. So what I'm having right now, or even lower. A barking dog, however, is at 70 to 100 decibels, and a lawnmower is at 107. And we're in a town that has a lot of trucks and trains, as the village president emphasized. So there's a lot of sounds in the town that you just need to get used to. But it's a small town where people are aware of the costs involved in living there, because there's a great benefit to that. And so if animals are attended to and they're cared for, they provide a natural herbicide because they eat weeds. They provide a natural pesticide because they eat insects. They provide organic fertilizer, and they help aerate the soil. And because they can survive on chicken scraps, they reduce waste into our waste stream. So in that way, it's better for the chicken because they're more taken care of. It's better for the household because their environment's a little better, and it's better for the community because there's less pollutants and waste in their environment. Another benefit we have with backyard chickens is its impact on property values. Our family personally, before we decided to purchase a home in Chavanaugh this June, we looked into make sure that chickens were actually legal here, and they were. So it was one of our boundaries that we set up, that if they didn't have it, we weren't going to buy property there. So it was personal to us, but because a lot of people that have backyard chickens take pride in their chickens, they are more likely to maintain their property. I know there's been a lot of expanding interest in backyard chickens, at least as to a New York Times article that came out last February, so 1 year ago, talked about recent trends. I know it's tied in a lot of growing areas, so in that way, the increase in demand or interest is good for household and the community in general as a place that you can go to have chickens. I know Waterman also offers chickens, but not a lot of other communities, as far as I could see based on the ordinances that I could read, necessarily offer that, at least in this surrounding area. And so this would be a good and attractive thing for people that are interested in something that's more small town and agricultural. But the biggest benefits that we have are that it's good for our kids, and it's good for their education and for their companionship with animals. We have 2 kids right there. They're both in Clover Buds right now for 4-H, and they're going to be 4-Hers, and they love having chickens. They think it's great, especially our oldest one. And so this helps teach them about the origins of food, where it comes from, the work involved in that, circle of life of having an animal, raising it up, and then having to cope with its loss, the responsibility and rewards of stewardship, and having to take care of another human being, or take care of an animal in this case, but also treat that animal with compassion and to treat them as a companion, because chickens have this unique personality that's very unique to them, and as well, they're also one of the few agricultural animals that you can have in such a small space. And so they don't require as much land as something like a goat, or definitely not the smell of pigs and the size, and cows and things like that. Chickens are a little bit more manageable for the size of a town, which is why there's such an interest in backyard chickens. And then finally, I think the biggest thing for them is it gives them the opportunity to hands-on learning, which is becoming much less common in today's day and age with a lot of cyber learning and e-learning platforms. It gives them an opportunity to interact with their environment and teaches them a lot of those invaluable lessons. And one of the lessons that's biggest for us is, as a family, how it helps us be more resilient and more self-sufficient and allow to have access to a more nutritious food source. So a lot of sources argue that chicken eggs from backyard chickens tend to be healthier, less expensive, and more secure, because it's just you working with the chicken and you can feed them whatever you like without the extra additives. And when this aligns perfectly with our push, as another citizen talked about today, that aligns with the goals of the community garden and the farmers market, to offer people nutritious food, fresh food, locally supplied food that's less disrupted by our food chain and the push. That's why the New York Times article is arguing there's been a big uptick in the use in the argument for backyard chickens. Ever since 2020, people started to really question the food chain and realize we need to diversify those things. And it actually is one of the solutions to the widespread use or the widespread avian flu, because you have more diverse array of food source from people instead of being more concentrated, which is actually a catalyst for the avian flu. In this case, it's more spread out. And then also it helps us with the political flux, because there's tons of headlines talking about how things will be disrupted and there's all these looming things. And so it's a good idea to be able to have something in your back pocket that can help you be more resilient and less dependent on a system that could potentially break. So again, the overall argument and the overall proposal request really is to consider the problem, to develop an effective solution that serves the interests and the concerns of all the citizens, as well as the board, while still leveraging the freedoms of responsible law-abiding citizens and being able to provide some of the numerous health and economic and educational and nutritional benefits that occur when you have backyard chickens, not only for benefits for the chickens themselves, but households, individuals, families, and the community members in general. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no additional citizens addressing the board. We're going to move ahead to reports and actions. We'll begin with the village engineer. He's unable to be here. However, a brief update from Curtis. I have a meeting with the Illinois Commerce Commission on March 12th to discuss the establishment of the railroad quiet zone. Water line replacement project. They're awaiting the IEPA to execute the loan agreement. Then the village can award the project. Apache Street. Everything is order. The contractor wants to start work on April 1st.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Go ahead.
On the Shabana Road Waterline Replacement Project, I read something today that we might need to look into lead line replacement that happens with the project, the lead time that notification of residents needs to happen.
No, okay.
And any guidelines that go with that. There's a lot of information that keeps coming out because of the
Yeah,
lead
it
line
keeps changing.
replacement plan. I sent something to Cindy today on it.
And that would be the lead lines that are associated with the project, correct?
Correct, they go to the residents. So,
Okay.
and then Apache Street, do we wanna do a notice to post on all the residents on the street, plus those few houses on South Alina that curve in? Letting them know about the project start date and anticipated end date of April 1st to June 28th is the anticipated project.
Yeah.
Anything beyond June 28th costs the contractor money, so.
Yeah, Bud will probably have to maybe, down the Line Street, right to Line 9, Cherokee, put some notice. up
Jan
there.
will probably
Some
come up with
horses.
something.
Mel and I'll talk about it and
Okay.
do something up for them, just so people are aware. And then also, will there be any issues, cause I think there's a few residents at the end, the duplex maybe, that park on the street? Do they have driveways?
There are driveways on the end, but there are people that do park on the street.
That's something we'll incorporate in, that there will be times where there'll be no street parking when they're doing the street and curb work. And sewer, storm, whatever they're doing, storm.
Any other questions?
Is there anything holding the water line project from being completed this year?
Nothing, no, unless once we get it awarded.
Okay.
No, that should move right along.
Yeah, they'll probably start pretty quick.
It's a
Sorry,
process
those
that's
were my-
been moving.
Those were my things.
I have a question about the Apache Street. I've had, a lot of people on the street ask me, and I said, it's probably gonna be around April 1st. But I don't think we should say anything too soon, because many times we've got caught in that trap.
We'll get the
We
rain.
said April 1st, and then it's May 1st, or I think we should wait till like a week or 10 days out to let them know.
That was the week before.
Yeah.
Alright, if there are no other engineering questions, let's move on to Buddy. What do you got, Buddy?
Well, we haven't to worry about the weather very much.
Oh, silly.
We, John and Jake stained the benches and repaired them, the ones uptown, the redwood ones, that are 50-some years old. But anyway, so, we got paint for the meeting room, and the bathrooms and that stuff, and so this will be changed. We've been putting more meters in at Resource Bank and some of the residentials. We've been putting back grass where it's been plowed up, and sweeping gravel on the areas where we got gravel and we were working on it today. And we brought the sweeper back in from the wastewater treatment plant and took the shoveler out there. We also, through Core Main and Census, we updated part of our reading and setup equipment that I don't need to have the handheld that we read the meters with in order to set the radios up. I can use my phone. And it will also help us, because we don't have to carry that in the house with us when we set stuff up. We can use the or the phone, or the laptop. And then, we shut off waters for Cindy on the 15th. Any other questions?
Alright, nobody has any questions for Bud, we'll move along. The next item will be the committee reports. Allison, anything for the finance committee?
No, nothing new. We'll have a meeting on March 12th at 6 o'clock,
And the location of the meeting?
here.
Mark, infrastructure.
I really don't have anything new to say that wasn't already brought up in the project updates. One thing I do wanna mention though is, I think it may not be a bad idea to have a meeting in April, we haven't had one since November. And then if I could ask Buddy and John, over the next 6 weeks, if you could just get an inventory, it's where the sidewalks are really bad. And then, some areas also where there are none, so we can kinda get that planned out for probably late in the fall.
Get that contract. Any questions for infrastructure? If not, let's go on to, development committee. Allison again, what do you got?
I don't really have anything, excuse me, new for that. Maybe Mark, you could speak a little bit about the Pretty Park meeting with,
Yes, I know, Allison, was one of the representatives from the village on the Purdy Park and the Development Committee, which I'm not on those committees, but she was, out of town and I filled in for her. We met about a week ago with Stephanie, who's designing the park and putting together all the engineering. Because what we need to have is certified engineer have it completed to submit for an OSLAD grant. And she let us know that she thought we're probably about 2 to 3 weeks away from having everything we need to submit for an OSLAD grant, which I think would be the 1st of August. An OSLAD grant basically would pay for 50% of what the park improvements would cost. So that's all I really have for the Purdy Park. And right now, I'll also, we're looking at a cost for a multi-purpose pavilion and, restrooms with running water and sinks and things too. That'll all be figured into that grant, plus some other improvements too.
Okay. Dave?
All right, well, we've got a committee meeting on March 13th at 6 PM right here, to start working on the, 4th of July festival. And then, of course, we need to, get permission for the farmer's market to continue what they did last year and, pay for the insurance and everything, so. See, there was, be at the park, pay for the insurance, and what was the third thing?
Be willing to print flyers.
Flyers.
How much was the price on that?
The insurance shouldn't be more than
Last year it was under
$200.
$200 for the insurance and the flyers, I mean, I don't see.
So I would look for a motion to go ahead and approve farmer's market to go ahead this year. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, discussion? There's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Anything else?
That's true.
Okay, next item would be the sheriff's report. Everyone has had an opportunity to look at the sheriff's report. If you have any questions, bring them up to me, I'll talk to the sheriff. If you have any questions now, let me know. If not, we'll move on to item E, which will be the village clerk. First thing I would be looking for is an approval of the regular board meeting minutes from January 22, 2024, and the special board meeting minutes from February 7, 2024.
I, would like to take a note to, under old business, section C, vacant buildings, line 8, where it says for 16 consecutive years, property taxes have gone down. That needs stricken and replaced with, I think this, the reason that happened is because I ramble too much sometimes. I gave you a copy of it. It should say,
Most commercially zoned properties in the village peaked in assessed value in 2006. The assessed value of commercially zoned properties in the village did not reach their 2006 assessed value again until 2023-24. Some today continue to remain significantly below the 2006 assessed value.
Okay, so I would be looking for a motion to accept the minutes based on the modifications, changes that Mark has made to the minutes. Second. Discussion? Roll call vote, please. All in favor? Those opposed? Next item, this will be Freedom of Information Act FOI request. John, address, please.
All right, if you haven't wondered, I haven't sent back to anybody to say I'm done with your email. I am just waiting to make sure there's nothing that comes back at me first, so hopefully by the end of this week, I'm gonna call it done. So, nothing's come back at me yet, so, kind of a FYI for you guys, one, I found out I have to keep FOIA logs, that was something new to me, so. But, so on average, I usually have 6 to 8 hours of FOIA, mostly a month. Some months are lower, some months a little higher, but it averages out to 6 to 8 hours. February so in January I had just over 5 hours, and that was 6 FOIAs. In February I had 3 FOIAs and spent 27 hours on them. Technically I spent 31 hours, but trying to figure out how to export email and turn it into PDF was kind of not something I could account for on the FOIA requester. That took me a long time. Mel had 2 of the hours going through folders and pulling stuff, or one of them, 2 of them. So, but just kind of to give you an idea, in the month of February I had 31 hours on FOIA, so thankfully the end of the month's coming up. So, but I will be keeping track, and I will keep you guys posted as if we keep getting big ones, so.
Okay, number 3, the zoning permits.
There were no building permits issued in February. 602 East Comanche, down by the viaduct, where the building's gonna go up. His are pending, they've invoiced him as of last week, he's probably mailing a check, so he doesn't have to pay the credit card fee. So once they get his check, they'll be issuing for his building and the bathrooms, and whatever else was included on that, it was a lengthy email. It's the only thing I've seen in the past couple weeks.
Okay, website update.
Alright, so the website, I went through the mandatory training, which is a good day's work. And I've been able to start doing necessary updates and revisions to get it prepped to go live. I'm gonna work with Mel this week and have her start doing some updates as well. Basically, the thing is that as of late last fall was when they started their creation. So now I gotta get it up to date. So with information before we go live. It was one of the biggest complaints Waterman had when they went live, is it wasn't current yet. So my goal is to roll out by mid-March, or at least before the next board meeting at the latest. So you guys will get notice when I'm ready to go live. So, and Mel will be training in there, and then Cindy will be training in there as well. And believe me, it's much easier. Unicode, I got confirmation that they received the proofs that were reviewed and commented on February 2nd. I submitted on February 1st. They are working on those currently and finalizing everything. And their timeline is that Unicode will ship in May. And once it ships, we should be live within days of receipt. Because I already have the Civic Plus for our website ready to help make it live on the website. So for right now, since there's gonna be a gap, I'm probably just gonna move our existing ordinance PDF files over along with everything I've posted. So that won't be hard to do.
Okay. Then we'll move on to number 6, financial. I'll be looking for the approval of bills and payroll for February. Need a motion.
Motion to approve the bills and payroll for February?
I'll second.
A second discussion. There's no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote to approve bills and payroll for February. David Simpson,
Yes.
Mark Cinnamon,
Yes.
Allison Kidd Brooks,
Yes.
Jeff Cooker,
Yes.
Joy Fay,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next item would be the approval of the treasurer's report as of January 31, 2024. I'll need a motion. I have a second discussion. If there's no discussion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote to approve the treasurer's report. Joy Fay,
Yes.
Jeff Cooker,
Yes.
David Simpson,
Yes.
Mark Cinnamon,
Yes.
Allison Kidd Brooks,
Yes.
Denny's absent, motion carried.
So the next item is the appropriation year-to-date report. Take a look at that. If you have any questions on the report, address Cindy. if you have no questions, or you wanna talk to, later, you can always call Cindy on any questions.
This is just an FYI to let you know where we are based on what we appropriated as of January 31st.
If there aren't any questions, can we move ahead to the next item? This will be the treasurer also, utility billing, anything, issues or concerns?
We did shut-offs, we had quite the stories this time as usual about why they were shut off, but, it was an entertaining day. And we only have one left off, and that one is in foreclosure, so I figure when the bank hasn't notified me, they've taken it over, and the homeowner hasn't let me know. She told me they were going to be, but she hasn't told me they actually did. So, it's all.
If there's no questions there, we're gonna move on to old business. Property notice violations update. Keith, I think the only one that we're looking at there would be, out on the west end.
Yeah, we did get, Resource Bank is disclosing the actual owner finally. So probably within a week or so, we'll actually know who it is.
Okay.
And I think, it's a family as opposed to an individual.
Is 304 West Navajo, where the garage was demolished, closed out?
It's,
It's
I asked
the
Phil
house
about that,
structure.
and he said there was supposed to be some work done on the house as well.
Mhm.
So he's just kind of waiting it out.
Oh, okay.
The guy had promised he was gonna do it, so
Okay,
we're just kind of waiting that one out. I think it's up in 14 March.
okay,
He's been
Alright.
very
Then we'll-
cooperative.
good.
We've got two more.
Two more?
Yep, 202 South Shavana Road was sent a notice with a fine of $300 for a truck that was parked around, this was mentioned last meeting, parked around the corner on Cherokee Street for 5 days after the snow of more than 2 inches we got in January. So far, no response, so need to know if there's a next step. Ditto for 201 North Illini Street, same type of notice was sent. In both cases, the vehicles were moved off the street. But they sat there for 5 days and we couldn't plow. So I need to,
And
201 North Illini, I called the office, left a couple messages. Don did call her back and left her a message that she needed to come speak to the board, because she was asking what she could do to get it waived. But haven't heard from her. So, I'm not sure what the next steps are, so that's why it's coming to you guys. We keep,
Okay. So the next item would be vacant buildings, status on those.
we have to look into the next steps.
Yeah, and I guess, Danny has been active, talking to people, and I don't know, we're gonna have to have a workshop or something on these things one of these days.
On which the,
All these buildings, everybody's got a different story, everybody's got a different idea.
but we have recently sent out notices, invoices at this time.
Yep.
To all the vacant building owners.
Yep.
If you-
Well, I was on the, selling those 2 property notices for the snow removal cars.
Oh, they were,
Yeah,
oh,
We have to discuss on the snow, just on the snow removal alone and some of the parking issues, we have to, I think, go through the development committee and amend our parking ordinances to permit towing.
what are we doing about the 2 notices we sent that we didn't do anything? Or we just letting them die?
Do we-
That's my question.
yeah, it's kind of up to you.
Do we take it to court, or do we seek out a collection agency and have the collections agency just turn it over to them?
It's not cost effective to take it to court, that's what.
Okay.
A letter, maybe.
Yeah, we sent them letters,
Yeah,
but
I
I
don't know
think,
if a letter from a lawyer makes a difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes people take it more seriously, other times they don't.
well, we could do that, be the next step. The board, what do you think? he sent him a letter, saying you're in violation, what are you gonna,
We could probably have him send one letter, and then after that, we need to change it, cause they'll be told within 24 hours.
well, we still have to, this summer, we gotta look at our towing ordinances, for sure, so that we don't have to go through this, so when
Yeah.
Buddy comes along one of these, we just tow it.
If it's towed, then they have to go get
Right,
paid.
then they gotta go pick up their car, right.
Both these cases, were they were aware of the ordinance.
Of the
They
ordinance,
were-
The parking hasn't changed.
Was there
Yeah,
constructive notice? There has to be constructive notice, we can't assume that they know.
2 newsletters with their utility bills,
So they read them?
they're giving them.
I'm just saying signage, to me, means a lot more, because it's a little hard, if you write a parking ticket to somebody in a no parking zone and it's not posted,
Oh,
I
right,
think that's irresponsible to think that somebody, well, they should know. I think if you put a sign up, or you make it known, businesses do this all the time. If you park here, and you're not a, look at Chicago, they have predatory tow companies all the time, and it's all completely legal, but the signs are posted. And I'm not trying to
It's like
be,
after 2 inches of snowfall.
yeah,
yeah, I can't recall if we have signs coming into and going out of town.
We have 0
There's 0 snowfall signs.
except for downtown.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the cost and get some, no parking, snowball signs as you enter, the town, the city limits.
At that point, it sounds like it would die, because there's an argument why they wouldn't know.
well, traffic sign is gonna be a little different than a newsletter. If you're driving on the highway, you assume the responsibility that you're going to be paying attention to signs, regulatory signs.
If you can claim ignorance on the ordinance.
Then you can't claim ignorance on traffic, because you signed your name on the driver's license. That's what I'm saying, if you sign your name on the driver's license, you cannot claim ignorance. If you get stopped on a DUI, and you say, I refuse to take a breath test, well, you signed your name on the driver's license, your refusal is gonna suspend your license for double the time you take it to fail. And people try to claim ignorance on that, but it's a traffic sign. It's like if you go through an intersection, there's a stop sign, hey, I wasn't paying any attention, well, stop sign's there. That's all I'm saying.
We'll look into how many signs we need in the next meeting, decide for, we can wait until, development committee meets, and we can determine how many we need, and get them posted. Simple as that. Okay? That sound reasonable? Okay, does that take care of the property notice and violations? Okay, vacant buildings?
To date, no one's registered or
No one.
requested to present their plan for remediation to the board.
There's one demolition, right?
Yes, February 19th, the invoices went out to all property owners. Updated invoices, including fines to date. 115, 117 was getting 1 invoice, they got 2. One for 115, which is the business, and 117, which should be business and residential. I think it was brought up at the last meeting that they have a tenant in the downstairs apartment, which was not approved, and they were told they couldn't do that. And then their attorney sent the village a letter, so now Keith is now handling that. 402 West Comanche has demo permits posted on it, the blue building at the corner. And it should be demolished this spring as soon as the weather allows. Which 306 West Comanche, the garage had the variance denied by the board. Is there any further steps we should take? They have never received any vacant building notification. 104 South Illini was set property maintenance violation. Has no tenant in the apartment and is being used as storage. And 404 and 406 West Comanche, Shabana Road and 30, just west on 30. Mark had talked to the property owner back in the fall, and no further action has been done to date. I told Allison at the end of the summary. So the board on those.
We'll have to re-notify and
Keep moving forward.
keep moving forward with notification, and I think you already said invoices out front, correct?
104 South Alina, that was initially issued property building violation. Do we wanna leave it as that, or does it need to be switched to vacant building?
I'm sorry, which one did you just say?
104 South Alina, corner of Alina, south corner of Alina.
Yeah.
Board consensus?
Everybody seems to agree.
That's not
Yeah,
that's not-
the general consensus to go ahead. Everybody's on board with that. Okay, does that take care of the property maintenance and the vacant building? Okay, the next item.
Oh, and then Norma spoke at the beginning, was there anything to be discussed on that?
We will work with you on that, all right?
Okay.
All right. If you have an interest in speaking to us about it, we'll get together on it. Sure. Okay? All right, item B. The repeal ordinance
Thank you.
4-2-11/4212, keeping chickens. We have changed that ordinance, we have a repeal.
That's what's in the packet.
That's it, what's in the package to repeal the ordinance. Gentlemen discussed issues. Is there any, I would be looking for a motion to repeal the ordinance. Once we have a second, we can discuss it. Anyone want to make a motion to go ahead and repeal the chicken ordinance?
Motion would be to approve ordinance 2024-02-26, amending Title 4, Chapter 2, repealing Section 4-2-11, standards for keeping chickens, and 4-2-12, registration and penalties for chicken in their entirety, and adding chickens to 4-2-11, restricted animals.
Need a motion.
Would it help if I gave some facts about the applications we've received to date? So, in 2020, there was a resident who did an application on 7/7. On 7/18, they were invoiced. On 7/29, they were asked for payment status. On 9/28, they were asked for payment status. By 10/2, they had paid for the coop permit, and we sent them shortly, within a week, they got a letter from the village confirming the registration of their chickens. So we did issue one. After that one to date, there were 4 other permit applications submitted, and they never paid the permit invoice and never followed through and never responded to inquiries on it. Never approved and never registered. That's all that's ever applied. Suspect, well, I know at least 2 of them did. One of them legally.
So the problem comes when it's time to pay for it, essentially. I mean, they knew how to fill out the application.
It's $140 for the coop permit. $105 if you decide not to go forward with it.
I would suggest that at this time, we table the issue. It'll give you, the council time to think about what the gentleman has brought forward. And, at the next meeting, we can move forward with it.
Sounds like there's a lot of interest in the village of farming chickens, so maybe we need to take a look at the restrictions that are in the ordinance.
It does not seem to be what the restrictions are. It is, we've had it on the books since 2018. It's non-interest. that's brought it forward, and violations that brought it forward. It's not a matter of, it's expensive, or I don't know, it's pretty clear in the ordinance, about raising chickens, what you gotta do, et cetera.
So is the biggest problem trying to enforce the compliance of it? I mean, to me, that's what it seems like.
Yeah,
I mean, we know the one situation that was recently, and there was a lot of back and forth with that. And being able to enforce what they needed to do seemed like difficult.
yes, yes. It's difficult, I've discussed this with the attorney, it's difficult to enforce the ordinances when you don't have a police department. If you write a citation, I discussed this recently with Judge, if a police officer writes a citation with the county, they go to the state's attorney. The state's attorney gets the ticket, person shows up in court, the cop shows up in court, and he is the county's attorney. In our case, we have a village attorney. The state's attorney is not gonna take on an ordinance case. It's gonna have to be turned over to him. Right now, we have no mechanism so that an officer writes a chicken, or a citation for violation of the chicken ordinance, the snow ordinance, et cetera. Where is the enforcement? Because that citation, where does it go? It goes into the ether. It ends up at the courthouse, and then from the courthouse, we have no mechanism at this point to get it to the sheriff, to the attorney's office. So when it comes up in court, the officers there, yeah, roll them citation, but the state attorney is not going to defend it or rule against it, fight against it. And if he hasn't been notified, they don't show up. And if they don't show up, the citation is dropped. So we need a mechanism. Now, in this case, as with the snow, we've talked about a collection agency. You violate the chicken ordinance, you get a notice here's what the fine is, it's on the books, and we turn it over to collection agency. Or, is there some way, I'm sure that DeKalb has a mechanism, but they have their own police, of course, how we can design a mechanism that will work for the effective application of the ordinances and the fines. It bears discussion, but I'm at a loss for, right now.
I mean, there is something called administrative adjudication, and so it doesn't necessarily have to, you have to enact some ordinances, and then you could literally have adjudication right here in this building, where you hire an adjudicator that comes in, and the city attorney, or the village attorney is made aware of it. People come in and make their pitch, and the decision of the adjudicator has the force of law and can be enforced. It works, I mean, we do that in Kingston, we do it in Sycamore, Sandwich, Maple Park, so it can be done.
But they have their own police forces?
Yes, they do.
We've also, with the towing ordinances that we discussed further, that can also be
Right,
added to those as
absolutely.
well.
And those make sense.
So absent the police department, we would have binding legal authority with an adjudication court.
So if we sent them a letter and we had an adjudication court, they would be given a date to show up. And it would probably have to do it monthly, depending on
That's
whether.
volume, yeah.
Yeah,
but
the volume.
Yeah, probably smart to schedule monthly,
And then if there are none,
then, yeah.
so how would we go about setting up adjudication? And then, of course, this would be, an additional cost to the village to have an adjudicator make these decisions.
But it would be a cost,
Or that would be a cost borne
It
by
would,
the,
it would be across the board like that.
correct, but it would
Almost.
also, it gives, I think it gives members of the community a voice. It gives them a chance to say, absent a police department, I can still be heard on this, whether it's towing chickens or whatever. We don't have to go to overreach or restrictive rules. We can say, this is what we have. You either gonna follow the law, or we'll see you in municipal court, the adjudication. And I come from McHenry County, they had full power of contempt, and if they didn't show up, they could have warrants issued, and that's handled at the county level at that point. But
It
I
would
don't
be-
know,
it-
yeah, I don't know about DeKalb County.
Yeah, no, same thing, yep. If it got to that point, it goes up to, because it becomes quasi-criminal on the state attorney.
Correct. I like this idea, because it kind of puts the onus on us and the citizen. Okay, here's our side, here's their side, and we'll let a judge figure it out without having to say, we're gonna restrict, members of our community from having chickens or dogs or whatever. And it's not gonna rely on a sheriff's deputy making a decision at dark 30 of, I'm not gonna write a ticket because there's no video. We can say, okay, we'll see an adjudication for it.
Okay, this, I'm looking at what committee, our Public Affairs Committee, it probably would be for them to discuss and design with you.
We've got templates.
Okay.
We've done it in several communities.
Does this sound reasonable?
Probably
To the
more
council.
to the development committee or infrastructure
Well-
Infrastructure.
or something else, any committee.
Public Affairs.
Tree committee.
Public Affairs is items related to law enforcement, so.
There you go.
Finance committee, it sounds like.
It could be any one of the committees, I try to narrow it down, but it would be up to the council, if you wanna pursue this, then we could get templates and we could start working on it, and, put some teeth into the ordinances without, going to a collection agency.
And without restricting everybody in town from having chickens or
agree.
dogs.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair, because of one or two people that don't follow the ordinance.
But I can understand the frustration with that, but
I can too.
I think, I don't know what the gentleman's name is, but thank you. I happen to agree that it's, why group flog the entire community because one or two people can't follow the rules?
Right.
It does, it comes like the snow,
Exactly.
one or two people are the ones that are, causing the
Yep.
problems, and it creates such grief, that we have to follow up on this, but, the adjudication, I think we can,
And
it's
would-
something
it
we
would
need.
laser focus the
Yeah.
issue on the person that's committing
Yeah.
the violation. and not
Well,
the
yeah,
rest of
just
the
like getting a
community.
ticket, like you said, so let's, get the template to me, and then I will, try and schedule and talk to Public Affairs, to see if we can get something going on with it.
And for the facts, a couple people said that to review the ordinance and the restrictions on it, one thing is some of the stuff like with the coops and that's, health driven for location, size, and some of that. So that's, kind of need to look into what you could do to adapt any of that, cause that seems to be a lot of the problem. Without violating county and state health codes. Cause that's pretty much why everybody has about the same ordinance, cause it's structured based on health codes and animal, non-cruelty to animals.
And in looking at the next item, which is the consideration approval to amend the ordinance for animal control, it's along the same lines. I think I discussed this with Jim, it's, one person, is not controlling his animals, but then enforcement becomes the angle. I'll fix the fence and this continues to go on, how do we address it? Again, but also, I don't think we need people breeding dogs in town that don't have the facilities to do it humanely, to do it, under control. So, and when it comes to the number of dogs, I know there are people that have more dogs and more cats than they're supposed to. And I think if we were to pass an ordinance like this that restricts the number of dogs, number of pets, then we could grandfather people in that have that number of pets, and then move on from there, and restrict the number of dogs. Again, this might be something else we want to table, until next meeting, to discuss.
Were you gonna work on something for that, Jim?
It's in the packet.
Yeah, we got it in the packet, yeah. So, I asked the council, would you like to table it, review it some more, and, like the chickens, and, maybe by next meeting, we'll have something template that we get administrative going for the citations. Maybe we can get something done this summer on that.
I think we could probably get it done before summer, but I like the idea of the adjudication, because it's a tool that we can use
Yeah, well, we need it.
forward for a lot more things. But I just, in reading this ordinance, I've really been struggling with it. I'm trying to put myself in the place of those people that were here a month or so ago, with their whole issue, and they went to everything right. They didn't escalate it, they went to the neighbor first. The neighbor, gave them a bunch of lip service and didn't do it, but their next step is they went to the police, and then nothing happened there. So then they come here. How many times do we see in the paper where people just go right to the police on their neighbor? Or worse, they take the law in their own hands. These people did everything right. And the system failed them. And it's because I think, we're a small community, but I think this is and I appreciate you hearing this out, Mayor, because I do think this is a good tool for us to explore, and I don't think it's gonna be cost prohibitive.
Okay. Sounds good, so we will move on from those items, if there's no further discussion, and move into new business, the appointment of Dave Simpson to the DeKalb County Regional Planning Commission and name an alternative.
This is because he was the alternate when Lori left, he stepped in, and the term has to be renewed.
So we'd like to renew your term, you're doing a fine job, so who can we put as an alternate?
That's up to the board.
Huh?
That's up to the board.
Anybody wanna jump in there? That's if Dave can't go and he's been making all the meetings, it's,
Joy, you interested?
So you wanna go? No?
I did it for a while. I actually enjoyed it.
I was gonna say, Denny's not here, isn't that like by default?
Denny,
Yeah.
there's.
He told me he's looking for things to do, so.
Oh,
he's
all
on
right,
that.
well, there's our alternative, Denny.
Yep.
Okay, good. I need a motion to appoint Dave, to the DeKalb County Regional Planning Commission and to name Denny as the alternative. I need a second.
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Okay, the next item is the consideration and approval for building Shabana Together to use a $20,000 grant from the DeKalb County Community Foundation on Prairie Park. I'm looking for a motion to take this money that is being, given to the village, to move that to the 501c3.
Little history for anybody that doesn't know it. The 20,000 grant that's being held by DCCF for us is from 2017, 2018, when Shabana did the economic development process. And we had meetings and committees and all kinds of things going on, and this was held for economic development of some sort. Park would fall under that. Yeah, it has to be a project that has not been started, nor have another grant awarded to it already. Some places have used it on improving parks or pathways or stuff, and some places have used it for media and different stuff. We have to use it this year, so with the focus on the downtown area and that, we wouldn't be ready for media this year down there, so.
Okay.
And the pathway's not eligible because they already have a large grant that's approved.
I'll make a motion that we transfer the 20,000 to the BT.
Well, there's no transfer of it.
There's no transfer?
No, if the board approves giving it to them, the money is applied to a piece of the Purdy Park project, and then in writing, we have to submit that once it's complete to DCCF, and they send you the grant money.
Alright, so I'm
They
not
don't
making a
award it
motion
up
to
front.
transfer any money then.
No.
Do you need a
We're
motion?
motioning to use
To
the
approve.
$20,000
Right,
grant
to use the grant.
on Purdy Park.
I'll make a motion to approve the grant.
I'll second it.
Have a second discussion? There's no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
One question before we vote, what would the 20,000 be used for, do you know?
Well, we have, you know, we're getting, looking at an OSLAD grant. We get an OSLAD grant, then that would be a portion of our, what we pay towards the OSLAD grant. They come up 50%, let's just say it's 200 large to, you know, build the park with all the, then we have to come up with that half, that 20,000 could be used towards the other half.
Well, it's gotta be something kind of specific.
Well, like
So-
the
Pathway in the park,
pavilion,
pavilion, amenities,
And
so.
I found out at the meeting with Stephanie, because the question came up about the OSAP grants. You know, you have to match 50/50, but you get in-kind match from materials bought, and things that the village buys and puts in. So some of it's, I don't know, if this could be counted as that, it could be included as part of the match, possibly. It's worth checking into. Cause there's some things that we've been doing that could be included,
Would the trees be included with that?
and any
Future landscaping,
stuff
that'll be
like
part
that,
of the development of the project,
yeah.
or the park.
so I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, now I need a roll call vote to go ahead and do this.
Roll call vote to use the $20,000 grant from DCCF on Purdy Park. David Simpson,
Yes.
Jeff Cooker,
Yes.
Joy Fay, Mark Cinnamon,
Yes.
Allison Kidd Probst.
Yes.
Motion carried. Denny's absent.
The next item is consideration approval of mobile speed sign grant application. I did this previous, 2 years ago. I tried last year, but they told me you can't do it 2 years in a row, you have to do it every other year. So I'm working on an application right now for, a mobile speed sign. Okay, and I would, in the grant, I'm asking, because of our pathway to schools, because of the, speed limit for the schools on Comanche, and also, I believe Navajo has some, pathway to school over there also. So I'm asking, for a grant. Now, the grant is through ComEd, and the grant will pay for half of this, like it did the last time for the 2 speed signs we have on either end of the village. And it will also be, a digital display, and we can download information from it. This one is $13,975. So, whether we get the grant or not is still up to them, but I'm just looking for, your permission to go ahead and apply for this grant. So if we,
I'll make a motion to apply for that grant.
Second.
got a second? All in favor?
Hold on, we didn't have discussion.
Okay.
Why would we need another one? We've already got 2.
Because here's the deal. People down on West Cherokee, West Navajo, east, over by the park. Can you have someone run radar over here? We can just tow this baby out there, it'll be there, it'll collect information.
Well, I understand. but-
Yeah, but we can use it,
But we've already spent a lot of money on 2 of them already.
they're on, on Comanche,
Yeah, does this record data?
yes.
That's another reason why you want it.
The
You
other
can
2
do,
record data.
this
Yes,
is
they
mobile.
do.
Right, but we've already spent the money on 2 of them. This will be another additional cost for.
That's mobile, that we can move to other areas of the village. What you're getting is you're getting data on a US highway,
Right.
which, it's nice, but the problem as I see it, the problem with speeding is gonna be in your school zone, it's gonna be on your residential street, not on a US highway per se.
Right, but we're collecting all this data with those 2 radars and it's not really doing
The
anything.
does
not
do
doing anything
stuff.
about it.
If you're going to apply to get grants for stop signs or stop lights, they're gonna, first thing they're gonna ask is what's your traffic data? And I think it's important to have, it's nice to know how many vehicles are coming through at what time and at what speed. Otherwise, if we don't have that information, we know there's a problem, you know there's a problem, where's the proof?
And it's also perception. People can stand on the side of the road and see a car go by and go, oh my God, that guy's got it doing 60. Well, stand underneath that sign sometimes when it's flashing and look at the speed and look at the vehicles that are coming. And you can get a better understanding of, well, that guy's doing 35, or he's doing, 40, or, higher. So, people's perception, if we have this here, again, it is a school zone. I think 276 kids now that go to the elementary school. So, I think we could probably sneak it over onto Shavana Road when the kids get out of high school. North Shavana Road, coming off the bridge.
You could put it on Reserve Road too.
Yeah, there-
Public
yes.
Works is,
Yeah.
when I have my dogs down there,
Yeah.
unbelievable how fast it is.
So I think there's many applications we could use it, Dave, and it would be a valuable tool. Anybody else? Discussion?
My opinion is just keep buying radar signs, and I think that that's a lot of money to just keep buying more
Yeah.
radar signs.
Okay. No, and that's a valid point. Any further discussion? We have a motion?
We did. We had a
Well, we
second.
didn't. All in
Yes, I-
favor?
We do roll call.
Oh, roll call vote,
Yeah.
please. Well, this is just for the application, it's not for the money,
I
but
know, I was just trying to put.
How much is the application fee?
there's no application fee.
Oh,
All in favor of roll call?
all favors.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Me.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is called the executive session. During the executive session, I have to ask everyone else to leave, because we'll be discussing all the items you see down there, personnel, placements, specific employees, sale or lease of real property. So you're welcome to wait outside, and when we're done, we go back to regular session, and I can call you back. Give me a call. I need a motion.
I'll motion we go
A
to.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
You'd be disappointed, but.
Alright, I'm ready.
Okay, we're back in regular session. At this session, I am now looking for a motion to accept the executive session minutes as provided for in 5 ICLS 120 from the date of
February 7th.
February 7th.
But also,
Second?
Roll call vote?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so the final item is number 11.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
And a second, discussion?
I want to vote on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We're done. Good.
Second.
Yeah.